Right. Hey, folks, what's going on? You might not know me. My name is the Bowman, and welcome to the Fan Bros. 1 year Fan
Bros.
Bros. Fan Bros. 1 year special anniversary extra extravaganza. I'm here with the longtime fan bro. He tells me he's been on the spaceship. He's been, he's been slick like that. He's got them assassination skills. He's on that. Now you see me, now you don't.
The
Um,
Boba Fett of Fan Bros.
the Boba Fett of fan bros, just murking people. You seen that Game of Thrones article? You still commenting on it? We got more comments this week still. All right, it's the one only Illa YC.
And the Fan Bros go wild. We're coming to you live and direct from the, I guess we're in the spaceship's garbage compactor, because, you never see or hear from us. So we're sneaking around with the eyeball things and the garbage creatures. What's up, Han? How you doing, Princess Leia? What's going on? What's happening, Fan Bros?
Hey man, watch your feet, man. You don't want to get pulled down. You don't want to get pulled down. And already we have someone calling in. We're not even 2 minutes in, we already got someone calling in.
Just,
But
just hold on, just hold on. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
we
A little
we
bit later.
we are live. So what we here to do today? I pitched this to Ben Hameen a couple of days ago. I said, "Yo, Captain America was dope. We need to really talk about it." And Illa, you did the review on Fanbros. Fanbros, if you haven't checked it out, fanbros.com. Check out Illa's review. He goes into great detail on the movie, and he goes into great detail about the movie. I'm like, "Yo, this is dope. We at the Fanbros, we need to, we need to get together. We need to reunite. Come together like Voltron, and speak together about this Captain movie, because I think it's probably the first big summer blockbuster of the year,
Yes,
and
true.
I think it's very indicative of the direction of what Marvel is doing with their Phase 2 movies, and then also it's just a damn fine movie.
It's a game changer. That's what it really is for, I think, for the comic book movies and for the Marvel franchise, of course, Marvel Cinematic, the Cinematic Universe franchise. Also, it has impact with the Agents of Shield TV series, but it really just sets the tone and the frame. I mean, because think with the Netflix deal in place, as they start launching other movie properties, but they're creating that integrated universe. So imagine the crossovers that are going to happen when the movies affect Luke Cage or the Daredevil or Alias or things of that nature, so it just creates a whole new dynamic. And I think that the fact that they've been able to kind of translate that shared comic book universe to film is something that we as comic fans, fan bros, and just geeks, nerds, outcasts, comic book readers have always kind of longed for. So to really, because I also follow the Agents of Shield show, and to have that heightened knowledge of Captain America, to watch the episodes and see how the interplay works, see how the actions of Captain America interplay with the show, it really took the show up to another level, and not to go too far on Agents of Shield, the show had been kind of meandering along, but it got like a boost in the arm, it really got a shot in the arm just having seen Captain America. So I mean, it's definitely a game changer going
I
forward.
I think that this was the original promise of what Agents of Shield could be at its full potential. And speaking to the massive success of Captain America, not only was it the top grossing film the week it debuted, the second week it looks like it's gonna be top grossing again, but he got people to watch Agents of Shield. That is amazing in itself.
That's true. I mean, Agents, we don't want to go too far on Agents of Shield. I definitely want to, we got to stick to the subject at hand. What are your general impressions of Captain America: The Winter Soldier? What was
I,
your takeaway?
when I went in, I was like, damn, this is I I really didn't love the first Captain America. That movie has some
Really?
issues. I
What?
that scene at the end, it's more comic book campy, And
Which scene at the end?
oh man, the end when they're in the Nazi hangar, the Hydra hangar, excuse me, they're in the Hydra hangar and they're all rushing for the giant bomber. Some of the editing in that scene is just weird. Like you see him run all the way and he swings on a rope like Tarzan, and you never see him jump off that rope. He's in a car. It's one of the worst movie cuts I've seen in recent memory. But that's kind of the style of that movie, because the middle of the movie is a giant montage of Captain America doing Captain America stuff, right? So instead of actually doing that in the movie, like, oh, here's this cool stuff we're not going to put in the movie, man, but, you know,
See,
so
I don't know. I walked away. For me, my favorite of the whole series of the Marvel movies has been the Captain America
was it
movies.
Captain America?
Like I was kind of when it first came out, a lot of people were kind of on some Captain America was cool, da, 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 da. You know, because it didn't have the same kind of spectacle in a sense. My trepidation was really going in. I like Captain America decent enough. The
Mm-hmm.
movie really made me see the promise of Captain America and liked him more as a comic character. Because I always thought he was kind of presented in the comics as more than what he was. I mean, like he's like I summed it. He's a juiced up soldier. I mean, that's what he is. You know, he's a little tougher, but for him to be all of a sudden like this expert strategist or this tactician or all these other things that soldiers aren't that. You know what I mean? Like, and he was frozen for a good chunk of his life. You know, so I've always kind of had this kind of mental hierarchy of the Marvel badasses. I actually wanted to do a list, or if I was going to write a comic book, I would incorporate this into it. I mean, to me, at the top of the list, based on how they should be portrayed, would be Wolverine.
Right.
He's lived a long time, speaks different languages, knows different training styles. He's trained in different areas, in different, different modes, different styles. He's a beast, and he's willing to kill you. I think second to that would be Black Panther, who's juiced up in his own way. But he's also a brilliant tactician. He's a genius intellect. He's a strategist. And he's willing to go pretty far in doing what needs to be done. He may not kill you, but he'll break some limbs or mess you up.
Also, remember, genius politician, too, you know?
Yes.
He's
He
running the
thinks
country.
2 and 3 steps ahead, like Christopher Reeve's one. And then with Captain America, he was somebody who I think was just like, he's a soldier. You know, he's a guy who's tougher than the average guy. That doesn't make you any smarter, you don't have all these different combat styles. You was frozen on ice for like 60, 70 years. You know, so you come back, you defraud. I mean, you don't have the same type of, sway and pull. So I think that's kind of always been kind of like in a way. And he was just like this Boy Scout type of guy. But then, like, I liked his portrayal in Civil War. And that's not to detract from Cap. I've read his stuff. I've been a Cap fan. He's not Superman, that purebred Boy Scout thing. He'll do typical guy stuff. But
It's not like when you
movies-
cut his arm open, there's a piece of American pie that comes right there, right?
No, but the movies really seal the deal in terms of walking that fine line of showing how this guy can be this really earnest, kind of milky toast, gung-ho, patriotic character and still be a badass. Without it told that line, without him being corny or hokey or like John Cena. If you follow wrestling, who's the corniest white bread dude like ever.
Yo, that's another discussion, man. We can't go too deep on John Cena.
So, but the Cap, Chris Evans, like he embodies that. Like you believe that he's a good guy trying to do the right thing, but he can also kick your ass, and also be a decent dude to hang out with. You know what I mean? Like he's not a downer. And so the movie I think just really had the Captain America one just really had a good amount of heart, action. It had the best action scenes to me, because Iron Man Warren kind of had some good scenes, but it just let me down in terms of the action and the final showdown. Thor had some decent action scenes in and of itself, but it didn't really live up to the potential. That's why I like Thor 2 a lot more. And then Captain America just had like more fighting. It was more hand to hand. It was more grimy, but it also showed Cap in action doing his thing with the shield. And Captain America 2, the Winter Soldier, just kicks it up so many notches. This is how it should be done.
I think that's an important thing to note with Captain America and his character, because I got into fandom through animation. I wasn't a comic book guy first. It was through animation first. And so my really big forte into comic books was Mark Millar's The Ultimates.
Mm-hmm.
And that new reinterpretation of Captain America and pretty much everyone. And I think a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe borrows heavily, much more from the Ultimates line than your normal series of books. And, a lot of people don't really give the Ultimate lines that much credit, because the last couple of years it's been just crazy. That's another conversation. But really, one of the big things played up in the Ultimate lines is Captain America, a man out of time, how he doesn't really fit in this new post 9/11 America. That's like a really big thing in the Ultimates 1 and 2. And then also it is like the plot of Winter Soldier. Captain America is not. He's not really. He finds himself readjusting to coming back home essentially. He's a war vet coming back home, 50 years later or 60 years later.
Well, Captain America, I agree in terms of how they handle the Ultimates. That a lot in terms of the Black Nick Fury and things that a lot of that, and even the Captain America uniform, a lot is heavily borrowed from the Ultimates. But I think in terms of the actual storyline, because like this follows Ed Brubaker's Winter Soldier
His
run.
Winter Soldier book.
But it also incorporates the whole Shield invasion of Hydra comes from Secret Warriors, which was a Nick Fury book from a couple years ago, where Nick Fury had a group of what he called the Caterpillars, who were the sons and daughters of heroes and villains who were like kind of this next generation who had the potential to either do really great things to do great harm. And in that series, that's what in issue 2 or maybe the end of issue 1, you find out that Hydra has basically the same things happening to Captain America. Hydra has infiltrated Shield years ago and has been kind of dictating operations and guiding, been kind of the invisible hand guiding things along. So I thought that the way that they incorporated and integrated that in Captain America 2 was really great and really fascinating, because it's not such a direct correlation between any straight Cap story, so it seems really fresh to people who are unfamiliar with the Secret Warrior storyline.
It was great how they kind of merged 2 or 3, Cap stories and Shield stories in this one movie. And one of the comments I've seen frequently when people discuss the movie is that it seems like this is a movie where Captain America is like almost a satellite orbiting a planet. That it's everyone else's movie. Like it's Black Widow's movie. It's Nick Fury's movie. It's Shield's movie. It's everyone else, and Captain America is just this element that links them together.
I kind of I can see where that's coming from. I think that I would disagree in a sense. He is the central focus. I think this feels more like a TV show in a sense, in terms of this, like The Sopranos, how everybody was kind of tangentially related to Tony. So he's the central focus and figurehead. Even if he's not the central star of the episode, he's still like that force, that kind of comes through. In the same way, I think that Winter Soldier and Captain America kind of act as polarizing forces. One force for good, one force for wrong, as it may be. But I think it's still very much a clear continuation of the story. I like the fact that they don't necessarily hold your hands through things. It just picks up very differently than the other Marvel movies kind of have. Where you introduce a Falcon like right off, and then you get the mission kind of thing that happens in terms of him going off. So I thought that was kind of like a cool little twist. It kind of has a slower kind of open, where they meet the Falcon and they kind of establish that kind of friendship early on.
That was a fun scene. The opening scene is really fun. On your left.
Yeah, and then the transition into the badass action scene. I thought that was that was a smart decision. You get Falcon kind of early on, and it's kind of a natural flow. That's one of the things I wanted to definitely talk about. I recently posted on Fan Bros the best partners in comics article, but I really like how they portrayed the relationship between the Captain America and the Falcon. Cap and the Falcon have been partners since the 70s. And the idea of the gung-ho American hero and this black dude kind of piling around creates a really weird but fun dynamic. And I think that the movie really integrated that well. And Falcon, it doesn't come across as a sidekick or some kind of afterthought or things like that. He holds his own throughout the movie. He's not some stereotype. He's a smart, intelligent guy. He's a vet. He fights. He kicks ass. Takes names. Has a couple great lines. Saves Cap's butt. I don't think he gets rescued or anything. He's not portrayed as the magical Negro who has to take the bullet for Captain America. And I think he's really afforded a lot of respect that is often missing in a lot of films. Period.
Nor does he give Captain America advice. He doesn't just pop up out of like, "Hey, Cap, how you doing?" "Well, son, we all have our problems. We just have to work through them, and that's why I go to church." Like, oh my God, Falcon! I never knew church was the answer.
So he has like a Tyler Perry moment or something with the cap, like
None of that happens in the film, and so I mean, but I think we have to salute to Anthony Mackie. I believe he did a great job, as you were saying, as the Falcon. Because it is the internet. Unfortunately, when he got cast, when it was revealed he was cast as a Falcon, like there was hands being thrown in the air, like, oh my God,
Really?
you can't do
I
it.
don't really remember that.
It's the internet, man. As soon as anyone gets cast, there's always someone like, yo, this isn't the right dude. This isn't the right dude. But I think
Who are they gonna go with instead?
I don't know. That's the problem with the internet. They're never satisfied.
Well,
But
that's true.
I think, but as soon as I saw that first picture of him in the Falcon suit, people was like, oh, that looks badass. And the suit did look badass.
Yeah. Actually, it worked out pretty well in the film. I mean, when he puts it on, they first introduced him in that scene with Sitwell. You're like, okay, and then he gets his full gear up, and gets out there. But there are a couple key scenes, and it's really subtle how they do it. They sell the relationship between Cap and the Falcon, in terms of the running joke of on your left, and then when they meet up kind of later in the film and they have a conversation, and Nick Fury's talking to him, and he's like, "Hey man, I just do what he does, only slower," So it's like I'm riding with, the Cap, and then at the very end of the movie, when Cap is like, I'm gonna root out Hydra. I'm gonna track these guys down and see what's going on. He's like, it's gonna be real dangerous. I'm not asking you to come with me. And Falcon's response is like,
when do we start?
When do we start?
When do we start?
And it's like that scene, that moment just capped it off so perfectly. Like, I know, when do we start? Like, I know what it is. I know what I'm getting into. I'm with you. And I'm a big friend person, big friendship person, and stuff, little moments like that. Like, I'm riding with you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm with you. To me, that moment kind of almost ranks up there with this classic bit in Tombstone, where the Val Kilmer, Kurt Russell, version, where he gets somebody's asking Val Kilmer, he plays Doc Holliday, it's like, why are you doing this for Wyatt Earp? And his response is, he's my friend. And like that, to me, it's just moments like that really sell it. So when that happened in the at the end of the movie, I was like, yeah, what I'm saying? Like, I'm amped. Like, I want to see more adventures of Captain America and the Falcon. I mean, they worked together well. They kicked ass. It was really solid. It was really dope. So it really leaves the door wide open for Captain America 3 or other Falcon appearances, in other areas of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I can see him. I would be dope if he popped up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
If he showed up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., maybe he pops up in Age of Ultron. Who knows? I mean, the cast is getting huge now for this Marvel Cinematic Shared Universe. Because not everyone showed up. So like Coulson didn't show up in Cap 2 in Winter Soldier, even though we know he's a major part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So,
yeah, but I think that they're saving that for Age of Ultron.
they're gonna, yeah, I guess that would send kids home happy,
Well, it's just the idea that's how when they had Sif on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and he kind of told them like, I'd rather let people know that I'm back myself. So they kind of played it kind of coy in how they handled it. But I think in Avengers 2, if he shows up, or if his team shows up, then it'll probably be more. And I don't see why he wouldn't, or why. And I think that in Avengers 2, you're going to see the people from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. pop up in some scene. Coulson may play a bigger role, but I just see it. It's too big of an opportunity to pass up. Joss Whedon is connected. His brother runs the show. I mean, why not give your brother's show a boost in the arm? Give them high-profile visibility by having him pop up in a scene in Avengers 2. It's a no-brainer.
Bring Coulson back. Bring him back.
So what did you think about the Winter Soldier himself as a character?
It's because it's weird that they tried to hide it. The audience knows, what the character's done, so it's weird. We know it's Bucky, right? We know it's Bucky.
See, I don't know about that, man. I was in my screening when they did the Bucky reveal. There were people who loudly gasped out loud, like, "Huh? Ah! Ah!" Like, and as a
maybe they don't know who the Winter Soldier is.
but they didn't. You know what I mean? Like these to me, it's
Mhm.
just like because of the broad appeal of the Marvel films. I mean, I assume they didn't. Of course I knew, and they openly talked about it. I mean, in the ABC special that aired like a week before, in place of an Agents of Shield episode, Chris Evans clearly says like Bucky, the Winter Soldier is Bucky. You know what I mean? He says it in the episode, and I was just thinking like, you boneheads, why would you give away such a big part of?
Well, you know what it is? It's probably they didn't want a Star Trek Into Darkness situation
Oh well,
where
yeah, yeah,
J.J.
yeah,
Abrams
yeah.
like, yo, it's not Khan. It's not. I guarantee you, it's not Khan. I know it looks like Khan. It sounds like Khan, and he even has a Khan screen, but it's not Khan. I guarantee you. And then
Well,
it was Khan.
yeah, but true. I think they could have handled that different. I mean, all they had to do was just say, just go see the movie. You know what I mean? Like, go see the movie. But Chris Evans clearly says it's Bucky, but in the movie, and the fact they have his mask covered up, when it played out, like I was tripping. It was hilarious. I'm hearing men and women like, huh? What? That's his boy. I was like, what? Is that serious?
Like,
But
okay, so even though I knew he was his boy, he was still badass though. He was still
man,
a threat. Anytime he was on screen, his fight choreography was dope, and it was really cool how they integrated his his metallic arm, into his fight sequences in the different ways he was using it to get around, because he was menacing, And I'm glad, because some of the Marvel films, like the early Iron Mans, it was just like Iron Man versus Iron Man, So it's like the same thing, but the Winter Soldier was visually distinctive in every way from Captain America. The way they fought, the way they moved, how they interacted, and that was dope. That really engages you as a film goer.
well, and like I keep hearing on the internet, people call him like the Winter Soldier. Like they keep making this reference to him being like the Terminator, and I think that's very apropos. He's like the Terminator of the film. Like he's that unstoppable force, and for me personally, it created a lot of tension because I'm watching this like, how is he gonna stop this dude? Like, and I know the comics, and I know this, and I'm a fan. And Cap's gonna win, but you get caught up in the moment, and I'm just like, because I'm like, he's chasing after Black Widow, and I'm like, what can she do? Because this dude is beasting everything. He's tearing up the freeway. He's coming for you. I'm like, what the hell is gonna happen? And of course, it showed off her cleverness and things of that nature, but and I think that also kind of really, because a lot of people were always talking about Black Widow. Well, how can she stand up in these fights and against these other people? And in this film, you kind of see her go one-on-one in a sense with the Winter Soldier. You see how she's her toughness, her agility, her intelligence, how she's able to kind of survive the scrap. I mean, you kind of got a taste of that in the Avengers, where she kind of dealt with the Hulk a bit. But in here, you see her facing a real threat. And I was like worried, you know what I mean? I'm like, how is she gonna handle this? Or how is Cap gonna handle it? Like, this dude is beasting. So I really think they captured him well. I think how they gave the backstory of his. They didn't. I like the fact they didn't expend too much time trying to lay out every flipping thing about Bucky. It's like, go see Captain America 1. You know what I mean? That's how you'll figure out who Bucky is. And this, all you really need to know is he's a dude who got hurt, on a mission with Cap. We brainwashed him, gave him a metal arm. We send him out to kick ass and kill people. And I think that's it. So I think it plays to saying, hey, audience, you're smart enough to figure it out. You know what I mean?
It's exactly what you said earlier. The movie does not hold your hand. It treats the audience with some type of brains, and they've established these characters a long time now. Black Widow since Iron Man 2. We've had Avengers. They also at the end of Captain America, the first Avenger. All these people was there. Nick Fury. We know how they work. We know how Black Widow has a ledger. She's got red in her ledger. All these things that these find these characters, and they build on them. And that's one of the dope things about the Marvel Universe, is because they treat it. Now, we've been in this renaissance for TV, and TV has the ability to tell these expansive, large, interwoven, internet-connected stories that go on for a long time. And this is the first time we've actually seen, in the cinematic world, this long-form, continuous form of storytelling, which is dope, which is Marvel has done.
Yeah, I think that the now we're seeing everything pay off. All the dominoes they set up, because with Captain America 2, they didn't have, like, there were some references to Avengers, because in all through Iron Man 3 you hear New York, New York, New York. Through Agents of Shield, New York, New York, New York. Here there wasn't so much, but it's still just built on you being intelligent. You know what I mean? If you follow these series, we're not gonna give you Captain America's origin for the umpteenth time. You know what I mean? get familiar. So I like that. Like, if you're here, you paid your money to see this film, or you're sitting down, we assume you're basically familiar. You're familiar with what's going on. We're gonna give you kind of the gist of things, and then you're visually looking and you're being shown what's what, and you can follow along. So I respect that they really are playing to the intelligence of fans. I mean, not just comic book fans either, but the average moviegoer. I mean, this is one of the most universally praised and reviewed films, in the last several years. Much less a comic book film, but just the fact that it's getting so much people aren't eating it alive. What I mean? So, and it's doing really well.
It's doing well, and I think this is a testament to the Phase 2 Marvel movies. Like Thor, when we had Thor last year, Thor was a lot more fantastical than the first Thor. It kind of went more high fantasy genre. And now Captain America, we see Captain America, it's more political thriller, more espionage than what the first film was. So, are the Marvel films in the Phase 2, are we going to be seeing them tackling different genres, going in more expansive, broader directions? That they have these characters established, now they have more room to play with them. So I'm curious to see what they'll move from here, especially with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then also Age of Ultron, which is coming up next year. Because there's some big changes in this movie, which affect the entire cinematic universe.
Well, before we get to that, the next particular topic I wanted to address was Nick Fury and how they handled him. Well, what do you think on their take on it?
I think this was really dope that they actually got Nick in situations we actually get to see a little bit. I mean, he is the spy. He is the spy, right?
Yeah, he's super spy.
He, even in the super spy, he's still in control of the situation, even though everything looks like it's going to hell. He is still like, I am running this. They tried to murk me, but they couldn't murk me. My car is tripping. I'm still out here bleeding on your couch. I'm here to tell you that things still ain't right.
He just gonna Rick James the couch.
I thought, Sam Jackson, it was beautiful when they used his likeness in the Ultimates way back in 2001, and I'm glad that Sam's actually get to play it off here, because I think him setting up, if for smart viewers, he wasn't dead. You knew he wasn't dead, because he signed a 9-picture deal, and if you do the math, there's still more pictures to come out, right? So you knew he wasn't dead, and then also Nick Fury, always in the comic books, he has his life body duplicates, which he's always dying and like, nah, that was my life body double. And it's funny because there's a line in the Avengers about life body doubles, but Coulson says it, not Nick. But even still, it's not even the life body double that happens to Nick here. But even still, I think that his car chase, I think that was a dope car chase.
That's what to me, this was the first time they lived up to the potential of Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. Like, visually, we think, okay, he's a badass. He has the cool look, a couple of hot lines. Like, in Avengers, he didn't do much outside of the beginning scene and then shooting like a rocket launcher.
Yeah, he's got the money shot, what they call it, the money shot, right?
Here, Nick Fury kicked ass and was cool. It was like, this was the promise of Nick Fury. Him in that chase, and he's pulling people in, taking their guns, shooting them up with your own gun, and I mean, wait, now,
shoots the door down.
I mean, like murking people and just being a badass and talking shit, swallowing spit, kicking ass. This was Nick Fury as they intended. So this, I think, was the first time we get that cinematic promise fulfilled. And it met, if not exceeded, expectations. I thought it was one of the dopest scenes ever. And then you get him more in his spy mode, and just cool Marvin Gaye listening to Trouble Man.
Yeah, I was.
As well. Which is also appropriate. So
which was great. Which was a callback earlier because remember, Falcon told him, "Yo, you need to go listen to Marvin Gaye's Trouble Man. That's all you need to know. That will tell you everything you need to know." Yeah.
I mean, like how they did Nick, we get him. We see him as a tough badass. We see him vulnerable. I mean, because you have to, be afraid for Nick. You know what I mean? Just the way the Winter Soldier's coming after him. And I remember seeing the preview. It was a preview image of Black Widow in a morgue, which happens in the movie. And of course, in that preview image, they kind of blur out who's laying on the slab. And in this one, you know, you see it's Nick Fury. But I thought that they handled it effectively. You know, the fact that it's all shown on screen, it's not really like a sleight of hand type of thing. We switched out the bodies. It's him. He's technically dead, or you're led to believe that. And I thought that was really cool how they really did that. You know, and then of course the reveal kind of comes later, but they could have ended Nick Fury right there, and it still would have been, you know, it's like, damn, I want to see more badass Nick Fury. But how they handled it was really swift, really slick.
Now this is to end Nick Fury's arc. At the end, he makes a character change. Not only does he go through that, he also makes a visual change too, and he takes off the eye patch.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of interesting just to get the reveal and that scene with Pierce to see what's under the eye patch. 'Cause a lot of people have wondered, you know, they got all kind of theories. I'm surprised there aren't
really, like we know. Well, okay, maybe they don't know. Well, I thought it was it's a visual change to also mark his character change. You know, Shield is done. Like his old Nick Fury is done, or you know what Shield was is now changed, and so now Nick is making this change too.
Well, I thought it would be interesting. I think there are going to be a lot of Nick Fury eye patch memes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to pop it off and he has something, you know, maybe the alien creature, the chest burst is popping out of his eye or something. But just becoming more of a street style. I mean, in the comics, Nick Fury is constantly off the grid, or constantly underground, or constantly can't be found. So I think that to see that kind of realized on screen is kind of a cool little nod to his role in the comics, and just it really cements the fact that this movie's going off in a whole different direction. I mean, because Shield is left in the shambles. I mean, Nick Fury's going his way. His lieutenant, you know, Maria Hill, she's with Stark. His ace soldier, the Black Widow, she's going off her own direction. So everybody's kind of scattered to the winds. Captain America's going off somewhere. Again, I mean, it just shows how much of an impact this movie really has, you know. And the fact that to follow up to what you were saying earlier before we got into Nick Fury about just Shield itself imploding, that's the big thing, is that Captain America takes on Shield. And one of the cool things about this movie is that you're dealing with, they effectively balance the macro and the micro. You know, the larger picture is Shield is a massive world-spanning organization, and we're about to kill millions of people around the world. But on the micro scale, you got one man charged into a building trying to eliminate, you know, the soldiers that immediate threat. And I think they balanced that kind of well with the whole the satellites on the helicarriers being the bridge of that. You know, you stop the helicarriers, then you stop us killing millions of people, but you've set us back millions of dollars, you know, and you're eliminating the heads of our operation. So I think that kind of this is the first, second only to the Avengers, really large-scale threat that had to be dealt with. I mean, because in Iron Man, he's just fighting Obadiah Stane on a street, you know, and that wasn't really cataclysmic. It wasn't really affecting the world. It was just a dickhead in a big-ass suit.
Yeah.
With Thor, the same thing. I mean, that happened off-world. I mean, he's dealing with Loki in Asgard, you know, so there's no real major threat to us. It's just Loki wins. He just become the ruler of Asgard. Okay, great. You know, so with Avengers is the first time you see the alien threat or something big. And I mean, you know, even the first Cap. Now that would have been, you know, more of a world-changing thing if Red Skull was allowed to kind of win and enact his plan. But this is the first time you get that real-world threat that's dangerous, you know, locally and a massive scale. But I think they balanced it, you know, perfectly, because many times in movies you'll get some major threat, and then I'm like, it's kind of the cop-out of the Avengers, you know, which was, okay, I sent a nuke and destroyed something, and now automatically all these aliens start falling.
All these, like, why'd they die? They were alive. When they become biomechanical? What is this?
Yeah, that's never really presented to us. We just kind of roll with it because it's an awesome movie. But that's a big kind of like, yeah, you know, all right. Because how do you stop a threat like that? That's all around the world, you know. So this plays out similarly, except that it's handled different, you know, in that we're told, okay, if you swap out these ships or do whatever you need to do on these helicarriers, then that'll effectively end that threat, which is something we aren't given in the Avengers. You know, we don't know that him shooting that ship is going to affect all these aliens, because it's like, you know, he could have shot them and they're still running around. We just don't have a head now. We don't have leaders anymore, but we're still blowing up shit in New York and we're flying all around the world.
that is something a lot of people have pondered about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. How do you continue to culpability and credibility raise the threat and not, before your suspension of disbelief really start to, take a toll?
Yeah, and
Because after New York, things different. So, and
well,
I think Cap handled it well.
I think Cap handled it very well. But I mean, that's the struggle of any great comic or action movie. You always want to ramp up the threat, but how do you do it effectively where it's enough of, it's a palatable situation where as an audience we're like, wow, this could fuck things up for real if this is allowed to happen. But we believe that one person can really effectively stop everything that's going to happen, because you can spend a movie just on cleanup. So I think they did a really a good job. I think having the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show helps in terms of for us as viewers, because we're able to kind of see fallout from this film play out throughout the show. So then we can kind of see over in a serialized form how you handle the fallout from a takeover by Shield, or invasion by Hydra, or alien invasion, or whatever. Play it out over the weeks. You have the time to do it, whereas in movies you don't.
No, you don't. But I think Captain America, Winter Soldier. Speaking of the helicarriers, I don't know if you caught it when they were doing their targeting. Did you see them call out Doctor Strange?
Yeah, Doctor Strange, Tony Stark, and then they target some other. I want to say, did they show the school? Did they go to Westchester, where the X-Men are based?
I don't think they did. Maybe they did, because I mean they're kind of slick about how quick they're going over some of these names. I don't recall if they did go to Westchester.
Okay, but I know. I mean, it's so many little Easter eggs. That's what makes this movie really great. I mean, it starts with Batroc the Leaper, who is a MMA fighter, George St. Pierre, popping up as Batroc and really making this perennial Cap villain a true badass. You know what I mean? And he seems like a viable threat. Like, okay, he's fighting Batroc. So that first little one-on-one was really dope. Showed off Cap's skills. And really kind of gave you a taste of what was to come. The Black Widow with her little arrow necklace, a little sign of her partnership with Hawkeye. The shout-outs to Stephen Strange, the shout-out to Tony Stark. You see the Avengers Tower. Nick Fury's headstone that has his quote from.
Yeah.
I mean, Gary Shandling, who was the senator who was in Iron Man 2.
Yes, 2.
Iron Man 2. So Jasper Sitwell, one of them, he originally popped up in the Marvel shorts and then has been featured prominently on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Seeing him revealed as a Hydra agent was a different Easter egg. To me, the biggest one though was Arnim Zola.
Zola.
Zola, for those who are unfamiliar with the comic, Zola is typically portrayed as a scientist who's transported his body into a robotic form. So he's kind of like an AI that's in the chest of a headless humanoid body with a camera for where the neck and head should be. It's visually very weird to see in a comic.
Even in a comic, it's weird.
It's weird as hell. So in the first Cap, they kind of give like a shout to it, like give a cut out to it, because when you first see Zola, his reflection is in some screen, so it's a call out to that to him being in a monitor. But to see it in play out in Captain America 2 is really dope. He's a big AI on a computer screen, but
1970s computer nonetheless.
So he also has the monitor looking at you. And then he has all the robotic body. I thought it was really just a really smart and shrewd way of showing Zola as he should be in the comics, in a modern form.
It's a way to translate him on screen. That's really one of the smart things about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is how they've reinterpreted and got characters on screen. Like some people gave a lot the Mandarin heat in Iron Man 3, but really the Mandarin doesn't really work in this modern age, and as much as we give, the Russo brothers all this credit and whatnot, I don't think anyone could have really made, a robot body with the camera work You know?
Yeah, that it would have just took it too far. So I think their solution was really elegant and effective. How they handled it was really dope. You know, to see Zola be revealed as that artificial intelligence on all these computer screens was, I was like, okay, great. I had a a fanboy moment where I just kind of geeked out like Zola, and people, like what the
I
hell?
know in my theater, yes, there were some people like, ah! So,
Because and it's just the fact like this one just so seamlessly builds off the first Captain America. You see all the stuff that took place in Captain America 1 mattered, and it's affecting the proceedings in Captain America 2, from
well, not just
Hydra to
Captain America, like
Zola.
the rest, the previous preceding films, all of them were kind of incorporated in Winter Soldier.
Yeah, true. Avengers, Iron Man, yeah. The threats that posed by the otherworldly creatures in Thor, and how, because that's one of the things I think Nick Fury talks about. It's like how the world has changed, and we got threats, otherworldly threats. So yeah, you're right.
That's also. I'm gonna take a guess, wild guess. Not only just reading your review, but over our discussion, you would recommend the movie, right?
I would highly recommend the movie. See it again and again.
I too myself will recommend Captain America. You can't go wrong. It's got great action. The fight cinematography is great. It's shot well. Everything about it is dope. Soundtrack's dope. The characters, everyone gives a standout job. They're really into these roles. This is the benefit of actually having actors having played these roles for a couple of years now. They really know these characters and they're really getting into them, and you see it throughout the production.
I mean, as soon as I walked out, I was like, I want this on Blu-ray in 3D now. I want it now. Make mine, Marvel, now.
We'll see. We got. I don't. What's the next? Is Avengers: Age of Ultron? Is that the next film up?
No, we got Guardians of the Galaxy coming in
Oh, that's right.
August, and then next May is Avengers 2: Age of Ultron. I believe Ant-Man follows that later in the fall, and then I'm not sure what's on their schedule. I think they're trying to get a Doctor Strange film in there right after that. And I'm not sure when the Netflix movies start either.
When they start, those do come. It's funny. I did all those posts on the site about Guardians, and I'm like, I don't even remember the movie's coming out. And I'm hyped for that movie too.
It'll be out in August.
But we got. It's just that's how hyped we are. There's so many movies, can't even remember them all. What's going on with Marvel?
All right, fam bros. So we want to thank you for joining us for this special edition as we celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the Fam Bros Show, and joining us for our Captain America: The Winter Soldier spoiler cast. We'll be doing other video editions like this and making them available on the Fam Bros site, and of course the audio will be available on SoundCloud. I want to thank the Bowman for all his great contributions to FanBros.com. The mighty DJ Ben Amin, and the Grand Duchess of Tech, Tatiana King, Chico Leo, and the lovely Jamie Rigetti, and of course the Dark Overlord, Chris Morrow, and Combat Jack, who is responsible for the great intro to the Fan Bros Show. Da-dum. Thanks, guys.
I appreciate everything. Check the site, YC Illa. It's been great hooting up with you, and we'll be back on the other side. All right, Fan Bros Unite.
Later.
Peace.